At my sister's graduation party, which I paid for, she and my parents mocked my failures. I smiled and raised a toast to her success. Little did they know, the next day the panicked calls would start and their faces would go pale when. They say blood is thicker than water, but for years, my family used me as their personal ATM, draining me dry while they lived a lie. Tonight, at the graduation party I paid for, that lie finally shattered, leaving a bitter taste that would soon become my sweetest revenge. I watched my sister Livia raise her champagne glass, her perfect manicure catching the sunset's glow across San Francisco's skyline. This rooftop bar, the one I'd rented for her graduation, cost more than my first car. But what was one more expense after everything else? My name is Hadley, and for the past 4 years, I'd been funding my sister's dream life, all while I lived in a cramped studio apartment, barely making ends meet. I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Livia gushed, her voice carrying across the lavish crowd. Especially my amazing parents, who made all this possible. I took a long, slow sip of my drink, letting the bitter taste match the churning resentment in my gut. Behind me, the bartender I'd paid extra to keep the top-shelf champagne flowing was popping another bottle. The sharp sound made me flinch. "Sweetie, we're so proud of you," my mother, Vanessa, called out, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. A degree from Berkeley. And now that marketing job offer. The job I'd quietly arranged through my professional network. The degree I'd funded through careful investments and brutal overtime hours. "Hadley, grab a picture of me with Mom and Dad." Livia waved her phone at me, oblivious. I obliged, just like always, capturing their perfect family moment while staying safely behind the camera. Then I excused myself to check on the catering, needing a moment to breathe, ducking behind a decorative wall. That's when I heard them. Poor Hadley, my mother's voice drifted over, laced with pity. Still stuck in that accounting job. No husband, no real achievements to speak of. I worry about her. Livia's laugh was sharp, cutting. She's just jealous. I mean, look at her. She couldn't even afford a new dress for tonight. Then my father's dismissive grunt joined in. Well, at least one daughter made something of herself. The words hit me like a physical blow. I pressed my palm flat against the cool stone wall, steadying myself, fighting the sudden nausea. That cheap dress they mocked? It had cost $300, cheap by their standards, but it was what I could afford after paying Livia's final tuition installment just last week. "Hadley?" Bridget's voice made me jump. My best friend touched my arm gently, her eyes full of concern. "You okay?" I straightened up, smoothing my supposedly cheap dress, forcing a smile. "Just peachy." "I heard them," she said quietly, her gaze firm. "You don't have to keep doing this." "Actually," I said, a strange, terrifying calm settling over me like frost. "I think I'm done." I walked back to the party, intercepting a waiter with a tray of fresh champagne. Livia was holding court with her college friends, showing off the designer watch I'd given her as a graduation gift. "Everyone." I clinked my glass, drawing their attention. "I'd like to make a toast to my sister." Livia beamed, camera phones rising to capture the moment. "To Livia," I said, my voice clear and steady, "who worked so hard for everything she has." I paused, meeting her eyes, a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor running through me. Who never took anything for granted? Who absolutely deserves every single thing coming to her? Hadley." Livia bounced over to hug me, her expensive perfume, the one I paid for, almost choking me. "That's so sweet." My mother wiped away another tear. My father nodded approvingly, probably relieved I'd kept it short. None of them noticed my hands shaking, or the way Bridget watched me with knowing concern. None of them saw me slip away to the bathroom, pull out my phone, and send a single text. "It's time. Let's begin." Bridget's reply came instantly, "Are you sure?" I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The woman looking back wasn't the doormat they'd walked over for years. She wasn't the ATM they'd taken for granted. She wasn't the sad, lonely failure they mocked behind decorative walls. "Absolutely sure," I typed back. "Execute everything exactly as planned." I returned to the party, accepting another glass of champagne. Might as well enjoy what I'd paid for. Livia was taking selfies against the sunset, our parents proudly watching their golden child, completely lost in their illusion. Bridget appeared at my side. You know what? I smiled, a real warmth flooding through me for the first time that evening. I actually am, because this is the last time I'll ever have to pretend. To new beginnings, Bridget whispered, clinking her glass against mine. To karma, I replied softly. Across the rooftop, Livia laughed at something on her phone, probably checking her social media likes. She had no idea her carefully curated world was about to implode. None of them did. I'd spent years being the family backbone, the silent supporter, the endless resource. Tomorrow, they'd learn exactly what happens when a doormat decides to stand up. I raised my glass one final time. A private toast, just for myself. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky blood red. Perfect timing. The first call came at 7:43 a.m. I watched Livia's name flash across my phone screen while sipping my morning coffee, letting it ring through to voicemail. 3 minutes later, she called again. And again. On the fourth call, I finally picked up. Hello, Hadley. Something's wrong with my accounts. Livia's voice was shrill with panic. All my cards are declining, and I just got an email about my rent check bouncing. I took another calm sip of coffee. That's strange. Did you call the bank? Of course, I called the bank. They're saying there's no money in any of my accounts. That's impossible. The trust fund payments always go through automatically. I thought back to last month, sitting in Josh's law office, signing the papers that would cleanly and legally transfer every penny I'd invested under Livia's name back to my control. Maybe it's just a technical glitch, I offered mildly. I'm sure it'll sort itself out. My tuition balance is showing as unpaid, too. The university is threatening to withhold my diploma. She was crying now. Can you please help? You're good with money stuff. I'll look into it after work, I said, knowing full well there was nothing to look into. My phone buzzed with another call. Aubrey, Livia's boyfriend. I declined it with a small, private smile, remembering the blunt conversation I'd had with him last week. Listen, I'd told him. Livia's financial situation is about to change dramatically. Thought you should know, since you seemed so invested in her lifestyle. He'd understood immediately. The gold digger's instinct for self-preservation kicking in. My office phone rang. Hadley speaking. Your sister's hysterical, my mother said without preamble. Fix whatever's wrong with her accounts. I'm at work, Mom. I can't just, don't give me excuses. She needs to pay her rent. And, what about her new apartment deposit? The one in that luxury building. The one I'd never agreed to co-sign for, despite Livia's assumptions. I'll look into it tonight. This is unacceptable. We're family. You need to handle this now. I ended the call, turning to my computer where an email from Ashton waited. The job offer in Geneva looked more tempting by the minute. My phone buzzed again. A text from Bridget. Livia just showed up at my apartment crying. Says Aubrey isn't answering her calls. Shocking, I texted back. Almost like he was only interested in her money. She's asking if she can crash here. What should I say? Tell her you're subletting to a family member next month. Stick to the plan. Around noon, my father called. Whatever game you're playing, stop it, he growled. Your sister's future is at stake. What game? I kept my voice innocent. I'm just as confused as everyone else. Like hell you are. You've always been jealous of her success, Dad, I cut in smoothly. I have a meeting. We can discuss this at the family dinner on Thursday. I hung up before he could respond, turning back to my spreadsheet, the one documenting every dollar I'd ever given them, every investment I'd made in Livia's name, every sacrifice that had built their comfortable illusion. By 3 p.m., Livia was desperate enough to show up at my office. Please, she begged, mascara streaking her cheeks. I need money for food. Aubrey's not answering. My cards are all dead and Mom and Dad say they can't help. Of course, they couldn't. Their own comfortable lifestyle depended entirely on my regular, unspoken gifts. That's terrible, I said, not looking up from my computer. Have you considered getting a job? She stared at me like I'd suggested she sell a kidney. A job? But the trust fund. What trust fund? I finally met her eyes. The one Mom and Dad told you about. They said you handled all that. Did I? I tilted my head. Did I ever actually say that? Color drained from her face as years of assumptions began to crumble. Hadley, what did you do? Me? I smiled, the same smile I'd worn at her party. I didn't do anything. I just stopped doing everything. She backed away from my desk, shaking her head. You'll regret this. When Mom and Dad find out what? I cut her off. That the money they thought came from a family trust was actually from their supposedly unsuccessful daughter? That their perfect little world was built on my sacrifices. I turned back to my computer. Should be an interesting conversation. The door slammed behind her. My phone lit up with a text from Josh. All transfers complete. Everything's ironclad. I looked at the Geneva job offer again, then clicked accept. The game was on, and I had all the receipts. The Marshall Family Crisis Management meeting was held at my parents' house, the one I'd been quietly paying the property taxes on for 3 years. I arrived exactly on time, parking my sensible Honda next to Livia's now repossessed BMW. This is ridiculous. My mother paced the living room, phone pressed to her ear. I've been a valued customer for 20 years. I demand to speak to your supervisor. Dad sat slumped in his armchair, staring at a stack of bounce check notices. Livia huddled on the couch, wearing yesterday's clothes and looking utterly shell-shocked. The bank says there's nothing wrong with their systems, Mom announced, hanging up. Hadley, you need to call them. Use your financial expertise or whatever. I already looked into it, I said, settling into a chair, feeling a calm that was almost unnerving. Everything seems to be in order, legally speaking. In order. Livia's voice cracked. I am about to be evicted. My credit score is ruined. Aubrey won't even answer my texts. Have you considered getting a roommate? I suggested. Or moving somewhere more affordable? More affordable? Mom looked scandalized. She can't live in some cramped apartment she caught herself, but I finished for her. Like me? In my sad little studio? The one I could afford after paying for her degree. Silence fell heavy across the room. Dad's head snapped up. What exactly are you implying? He demanded. My phone buzzed. A text from Ashton. Paperwork's ready for Geneva. Need your signature by Friday. I'm not implying anything, I said, tucking my phone away. I'm just suggesting Livia might need to adjust her lifestyle. This is all your fault. Livia suddenly shrieked, tears springing to her eyes. You did something to my accounts. You're punishing me because you're jealous. Jealous. I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make them flinch. Of what? Your carefully curated Instagram life? Your fake job credentials? Your gold digger boyfriend who disappeared the moment the money dried up. How dare you? Mom stepped toward me, her face flushed. After everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me, everything I've done for me, I stood slowly, pulling out my tablet, opening a folder labeled Family Expenses. Please enlighten me. What exactly have you done for me? We raised you. We supported you. Did you? Or did I support all of you? I clicked to a spreadsheet. Should we go through it year by year? Dollar by dollar? Put that away, Dad ordered, but his voice wavered, his eyes darting to the screen. Make me understand, I continued, my voice steady, unyielding. Help me see how I'm the ungrateful one when I've been funding this entire family's lifestyle for years. That's not true. Livia jumped up. The trust fund. Show me the trust fund paperwork, I challenged. Show me one document that proves it exists. More silence, more shifting glances. I've called a family meeting for Thursday, I announced. A proper one, with full financial disclosure. I suggest you all attend. Or what? Mom's voice was dangerous, but it lacked its usual bite. Or you can continue trying to access accounts that no longer exist, calling banks that can't help you, and pretending this isn't happening. I headed for the door. Your choice. Wait. Livia called out, desperate. What about my rent? What am I supposed to do? I paused at the doorway. You know, I asked myself that same question 4 years ago when I was working 3 jobs to pay your tuition. Funny how no one cared about my housing situation then. My phone buzzed again. Bridget, this time, emergency. Livia is trying to access those backup accounts you mentioned during your night 2 years ago. I smiled, remembering those accounts, the empty ones I'd set up as decoys, knowing this day would come. One more thing, I turned back. Don't bother trying to access any other accounts you might remember me mentioning. Those funds have been reallocated. You can't do this to us. Mom wailed. We're family. Family? I met each of their eyes in turn, letting the word hang heavy in the air. Funny how that word only matters when you need something from me. I walked out, closing the door on their protests. In my car, I pulled up the Geneva job offer again. VP of Investment Strategy, starting in 2 months. A fresh start. An ocean away from their manipulation. My phone rang. Ashton again. Hey, the moving company you asked about can handle international relocations. Want me to set up a consultation? Yes, I said, starting my car. And Ashton, thank you for everything. You're doing the right thing, he said quietly. They needed this wake-up call. I drove home to my small studio, thinking about Thursday's meeting, about the spreadsheets I'd prepared, the documents I'd gathered, the truth I'd finally expose. Let them panic for 2 more days. Let them scramble and scheme and try to access empty accounts. The real shock was yet to come. Livia ambushed me outside my apartment the morning before the family meeting. She looked terrible. Unwashed hair, dark circles under her eyes, wearing the same designer clothes from days ago. We need to talk, she said, pushing past me into my studio. Please, come in, I muttered, closing the door. She paced my small living space, taking in the IKEA furniture and bare walls. Is this really how you live? Some of us can't afford luxury when we're paying someone else's BMW payments. I spun to face her. I know what you're doing. You're trying to punish me because you're bitter about your own failures. I poured myself coffee, not offering her any. Failures? I took a deliberate sip of coffee. Like my 6-figure investment portfolio? My perfect credit score? My new job offer? A VP position in Geneva. Starting salary is triple what I make now. She sank onto my futon, deflated. You're leaving. Turns out when you're not supporting an entire family, you can actually focus on your own career. But you can't leave. Her voice cracked. What about Mom and Dad? What about me? What about you? I set my mug down hard. What about when I needed help? When I worked overtime until I got ulcers? When I lived on ramen to pay your sorority dues? I never asked for that. No, you just took and took and took, and mocked me behind my back at parties I paid for. Her face went white. You heard that. I hear everything, Livia. I see everything. I've documented everything. Is that what tomorrow's meeting is about? You're going to humiliate us. I'm going to tell the truth for once. She stood, switching tactics. Her voice went soft, pleading. Hadley, please. We can fix this. I'll get a job. I'll pay you back. With what skills? I cut in. Your fake marketing experience? Those padded resumes I found on your laptop. You went through my laptop? No. Aubrey sent me copies. Amazing what people will share when the money dries up. She crumpled, tears starting. Why are you being so cruel? Cruel? I laughed, a raw, bitter sound. Was it cruel when Mom called me a disappointment at Christmas? When Dad said I was wasting my potential? When you told your friends I was just jealous of your success? That was different. We were just what? Just destroying my self-worth? Just using me as your personal bank? Just treating me like garbage while I sacrificed everything for you. My phone buzzed. Bridget, your mom's trying to access your old accounts at Pacific Bank. I smiled. Tell me, how's Mom doing with her desperate bank calls? Livia's eyes narrowed. You're enjoying this. Maybe I am. Maybe after years of being your doormat, I finally learned to stand up. By destroying our lives? No. By stopping you from destroying mine. I opened my door. See you tomorrow at the meeting. Don't be late. You won't want to miss the PowerPoint presentation. Wait. She grabbed my arm. What about my student loans? They're going to default. I gently removed her hand. Funny thing about those loans, they never existed. I paid your tuition in cash every semester. She staggered back. That's impossible. The trust fund, say trust fund one more time, I challenged, my voice a low warning. Keep clinging to that fantasy. My phone buzzed again. Ashton, signed on your Geneva apartment. Riverview, just like you wanted. Get out, Livia, I said quietly. Go home. Prepare yourself for tomorrow, because after I'm done, none of you will ever see me as the family ATM again." She left, mascara streaking her cheeks. I watched her walk away, no longer feeling the guilt that used to consume me. My laptop chimed with an email from Josh. "Final documentation prepared for tomorrow. Everything's ironclad. They can't touch your assets." I opened the presentation I'd prepared. Slides of bank statements, transfer records, property tax payments, years of financial manipulation laid bare and clean, corporate formatting. My phone rang. Dad, this time. I let it go to voicemail. Hadley, his message was gruff, desperate. "Whatever you're planning tomorrow, think about your mother. Think about your sister. Think about." I deleted it before he could finish. They'd never thought about me after all. Tomorrow they'd learn exactly what their perfect little world was built on. Tomorrow they'd face the truth about their golden child's success. Tomorrow they'd understand exactly what they were losing. And then I'd board a plane to Geneva, leaving them to clean up their own mess for once. I closed my laptop, smiling at the thought of their faces when they saw the first slide, "The Real Cost of Family, a Financial Autopsy." I booked the small conference room at Josh's law office for the family meeting, professional, neutral, perfect for a corporate-style takedown. They arrived together, Mom, Dad, and Livia, looking like they hadn't slept in days. Bridget sat in the corner, ostensibly taking notes, but really there as my silent witness. Josh stood by the door, silent and watchful, an imposing presence. "What's all this?" Dad gestured at the projector screen, his voice tight. "Why do we need lawyers?" "Sit down," I said, clicking my laptop to life. "We have a lot to cover." The first slide appeared, a simple spreadsheet showing 4 years of transactions. "Let's start with Livia's education," I began, my voice steady, devoid of emotion. "Berkeley tuition, $45,000 per year. Sorority dues, $3,000 per semester. Housing, $2,800 monthly. Personal allowance, $2,000 monthly." "We know all this," Mom interrupted, agitated. "The trust fund, there is no trust fund." I clicked to the next slide. There never was. "These are transfers from my personal accounts, routed through shell companies I created to maintain your illusion." Livia's face went pale, a sickening shade of white. Dad started to stand, but Josh cleared his throat meaningfully. Moving on to property taxes, I continued, undeterred. "Mom, Dad, your house payments have been coming for me for 3 years, along with your car payments, insurance, and that renovation you insisted was essential. "That's not possible," Dad whispered, sinking back into his chair. "Our investments were liquidated 2 years ago to cover Livia's shopping sprees and Aubrey's business ventures." Another slide. "You gave him $50,000 of what you thought was trust fund money. It was my savings." "You're lying," Livia said, but her voice shook, brittle with fear. I placed a stack of folders on the table. Bank statements, transfer records, tax documents, every dollar I'd given this family, tracked and documented. Mom reached for a folder with trembling hands. "But your job? You couldn't afford." "I worked 3 jobs in secret, invested aggressively, lived on nothing while funding your lifestyle." I clicked again. "Here's my actual salary history, and here's what I gave away each year." The numbers were staggering, laid bare in black and white. Their faces showed the slow, horrible realization, the dawning horror. The trust fund story was convenient, wasn't it? I continued, my gaze sweeping across their stunned faces. It let you take and take without guilt, without gratitude, without ever questioning where the money really came from. "Why?" Dad's voice cracked, thick with disbelief. "Why go through all this deception?" "Because you needed to believe Livia's success was self-made. That her achievements were her own, that she was better than your other daughter, the sad accountant with no life." Livia started crying real, gut-wrenching sobs. Mom reached for her automatically. "Don't comfort her," I snapped, the ice in my voice cutting through their shock. "Look at the screen. Look at what your golden child really is. A fraud, propped up by the daughter you dismissed." "We never meant," Mom began. "To mock me at the graduation party?" I cut in. "To call me jealous, bitter, a failure? Let's talk about failure." Next slide. Livia's falsified resumes. Her fake job experience. The internships I arranged through my network that she claimed as her own accomplishments. Stop it. Livia screamed, burying her face in her hands. Just stop. Why? You never stopped taking, never stopped lying, never stopped pretending you earned any of this. Josh stepped forward, placing another document on the table. This is Miss Marshall's resignation from all financial responsibilities regarding her family. Effective immediately. Resignation. Dad grabbed the paper, bewildered. What does that mean? It means I'm done. I closed my laptop. No more money, no more support, no more silent sacrifices. You can't just abandon us. Mom's voice rose hysterically. Watch me. I stood, gathering my things. I start my new job in Geneva next month. Triple my current salary, as I mentioned. But don't worry, I won't be sharing it this time. Geneva? Dad's face went red, a flush of anger replacing his shock. You're leaving the country? I've already signed the lease. First time I've spent money on myself in years. Feels good. Bridget stood, joining me at the door. Josh handed them each a final envelope. Cease and desist orders, he explained professionally. Any attempts to access Miss Marshall's accounts or contact her after today will result in legal action. Hadley, please, Livia tried one last time, her voice a desperate plea. We're family. I paused at the door, looking back at their shocked, broken faces. No, we're not. We're just people who share DNA and a lot of financial transactions. And as of today, both of those relationships are terminated. I walked out, Bridget beside me, leaving them with their folders full of truth and their world in pieces. You okay? Bridget asked softly. Actually, I smiled, a genuine, liberating smile. I've never been better. Behind us, I could hear Livia's sobs, Mom's protests, Dad's angry voice. But for the first time in years, none of it was my problem. I was free. The aftermath hit social media before I even got home from the law office. Livia's Instagram story came first, a tearful video shot in her car. I need to talk about financial abuse, she stammered, about how family can manipulate and control you through money. I watched it with Bridget over takeout in my apartment, both of us laughing at the sheer audacity. She's really trying to spin this, Bridget said, reaching for more pad thai. Bold strategy. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from flying monkeys, distant relatives, family friends, even old classmates, all demanding explanations. How could you do this to your sister? One aunt wrote. She's devastated. I typed back, ask her about the $250,000 I spent on her education. The messages stopped after I started responding with specific dollar amounts. Ashton called around midnight. Your sister's post is going viral in the worst way. Want me to release those bank records we documented? Not yet, I said. Let her dig the hole deeper. By morning, Livia had posted a full YouTube video, complete with dramatic music and carefully curated tears. She painted herself as the victim of a jealous older sister's financial manipulation, carefully omitting any mention of actual numbers or dates. I trusted her to manage my trust fund, she sobbed to the camera. I never knew she was using it to control me. Mom joined the circus next, posting long Facebook rants about ungrateful children and family loyalty, each one carefully crafted to make me look like the villain while preserving their image of upper-middle-class prosperity. Your mother just tried to access your investment account again, Josh texted. Third attempt today. I forwarded the message to Bridget, who was monitoring the social media fallout. They're getting desperate, she replied. Check your email. Aubrey just sent something interesting. I opened my inbox to find a forwarded email chain, screenshots of Livia begging various friends and acquaintances for loans, making wild promises about repayment once she sorted out this trust fund situation. Should we release these? Bridget asked. Not yet. Wait for it. Right on cue, my father called. I let it ring through to voicemail. Hadley. His voice was gruff with forced control. This social media campaign needs to stop. You're embarrassing the family. If you agree to resume the regular payments, we can forget this whole thing happened. I texted back a screenshot of his bounced country club membership check. The next call was from Livia's university. Apparently, she'd tried to claim her degree was fully paid for by scholarships. I forwarded them 4 years of tuition receipts from my personal account. Your sister just went live on Instagram, Bridget reported. She's calling you a sociopath. I smiled, opening my laptop. Time to end this. I'd prepared a simple blog post weeks ago, anticipating their reaction. Just facts, figures, and bank statements. No emotional manipulation, no dramatic music, just cold, hard financial reality. A response to recent claims, I titled it, then hit publish. Within hours, the tide turned. Livia's followers started questioning her story. People did the math on her lifestyle versus her claimed income. Former classmates remembered her bragging about her family money. "This is better than Netflix," Ashton commented, sending me screenshots of the fallout. Mom called next, her voice shrill with panic. "Take down that post immediately. Do you know what this is doing to our reputation?" "Funny," I replied. "You weren't worried about my reputation when you called me a failure at Livia's party. That was different. We're your parents." "Not anymore. You're just people who owe me a lot of money." I hung up as another email arrived from Aubrey, offering to sell more screenshots of Livia's desperate messages in exchange for cash. "Tell him I'll pass," I wrote to Bridget. "The truth is doing enough damage on its own." My phone buzzed with a text from Josh. "Your parents are trying to refinance their house. Bank denied them due to insufficient income." I closed my laptop, feeling strangely empty. The revenge was complete. The truth was out, but something still nagged at me. "You okay?" Bridget asked softly. "I thought I'd feel better," I admitted, more satisfied. "Maybe because deep down, this isn't about making them suffer. It's about finally being free." She was right. The viral posts, the family drama, the public shame, none of it mattered as much as the simple fact that I was finally, completely done. My phone lit up with another notification. Livia, posting yet another tearful video. I turned the phone face down without watching it. Let them rage. Let them spin their stories. Let them face the consequences of their actions. I had a plane ticket to Geneva and a new life waiting. That was all that mattered now. The final explosion came 3 days before my flight to Geneva. I was packing boxes when Bridget burst into my apartment without knocking. "Turn on your phone," she demanded. Right now. I'd kept it off all morning, enjoying the silence. When it powered up, the notifications flooded in. Livia had gone nuclear. Her latest video had over 1 million views already. In it, she sat with our parents, all 3 of them looking appropriately somber as they revealed the truth about my mental state, claiming I'd fabricated everything due to a psychotic break. "We should have seen the signs," Mom sniffled on camera. The isolation, the obsessive record-keeping, the paranoid delusions about supporting us financially. Did they really think this would work? I asked Bridget, oddly calm. My phone rang. "Ashton, check your email now." The subject line read, "Thought you might need these." Inside were dozens of emails between Livia and various companies, her attempting to leverage her social media following for sponsorships, desperately trying to maintain her lifestyle. But the real bomb was in the attachments, screenshots of her private messages with Aubrey planning this latest video. "Time to end this?" Bridget asked quietly, her eyes firm. I nodded. "Time to end this." We spent the next hour uploading everything. Bank statements showing my payments for their mortgage, email threads about Livia's fake resumes, text messages from my parents demanding money, the legal documents proving I'd funded everything. But the killing blow was the audio file, a recording from Livia's graduation party capturing their mockery word for word. "Send it," I told Bridget. She hit publish on my behalf, then hugged me as I finally broke down. "It's okay," she whispered. "Let it out." Years of suppressed emotion poured out. Not just anger or satisfaction, but grief for the family I'd never really had. The support I'd never received. The love that had only flowed one way. My phone exploded with notifications as the truth spread. Livia's followers turned on her. The family friends who'd condemned me went silent. Local news outlets started calling. Then came the text from Josh. "Your parents are at my office threatening legal action." Should I show them the trust fund documentation? "Show them everything," I replied. An hour later, he sent an update. They left in tears. Your father said, and I quote, "We didn't know. We really didn't know." They knew, I texted back. They just didn't care. Ashton called next. The Geneva apartment is ready. Want me to move up your flight? I looked around at my half-packed boxes. Yes, please. Social media was in meltdown. Livia's influencer career was imploding in real time as sponsors dropped her. Mom's Facebook friends were sharing my evidence, turning their perfect family image to ash. Hadley, Bridget said softly, showing me her phone. Look. A new video was going viral. Aubrey, speaking directly to camera from what looked like an expensive hotel room. Everything Livia claimed is a lie, he stated flatly. I watched her spend her sister's money for years. Watched her mock the person who gave her everything. The real victim here isn't Livia, it's Hadley. My phone buzzed with a text from Livia. You've ruined everything. I hope you're happy. For the first time, I replied. No, Livia, you ruined everything. I just stopped paying for it. I blocked her number immediately after. Mom tried next. Please, we can fix this. We're still family. Block. Dad, you've destroyed your mother. How could you? Block. Feel better? Bridget asked. I nodded, surprising myself by actually meaning it. Help me pack. My flight leaves tomorrow night. We spent the evening boxing up my small life, laughing at old photos, sharing memories. Around midnight, Ashton stopped by with champagne. To new beginnings, he toasted. To freedom, Bridget added. To the truth, I finished. My phone had one final notification. A message from Josh. Just so you know, your parents tried to access their home equity line. Bank denied them. Reality is setting in hard. I turned off my phone for the last time in America. Looking around at my packed boxes, my empty apartment, my real friends who'd helped me through everything. You know what's funny? I told them. They spent years calling me a failure, but I'm the only one who can actually support myself. Bridget hugged me tight. You're not just supporting yourself anymore. You're thriving. Ashton raised his glass again. To Hadley, the most successful marshal of them all. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. Tomorrow, I'd board a plane to my new life, leaving behind the wreckage of their carefully constructed lies. They wanted to play victim? Fine, they could do it without my money, my support, or my silence. I was done being their ATM. I was done being their scapegoat. I was just done. And it felt absolutely perfect. The Geneva winter sunset painted my office in shades of gold as I finished another successful investment meeting. My team filed out, leaving me alone with the breathtaking view of Lake Geneva sparkling below. My phone buzzed. Bridget's weekly video call. You will not believe what your sister's doing now, she said without preamble. Hit me. She's working as a waitress. Actually working. Your mom's selling her designer bags on consignment, and your dad's interviewing for middle management positions. I smiled, shuffling papers on my desk. Good. They needed to learn. They're still talking about you, you know, but differently now. Your mom actually admitted to her book club that you paid for everything. Probably because she needs their sympathy. Maybe, but it's progress, right? A knock at my door interrupted us. Ashton, holding a package. Special delivery from the States. Call you back, I told Bridget. The package was heavy, wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a photo album and a letter in Josh's handwriting. Thought you should see this. Your family's house sold at auction last week. They're moving into an apartment. Livia is working 2 jobs. Your mother's starting therapy. Your father stopped drinking. They're learning to live within their means for the first time. I flipped through the album. Newspaper clippings about their financial downfall. Screenshots of Livia's much humbled social media presence. Photos of the house sale. The last page held a handwritten note from my mother, Hadley. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I want you to know. I understand now. I see what we did to you, what we took from you. I'm sorry. Not because we got caught, but because we hurt you. Mom, you okay? Ashton asked softly, his eyes on me. Better than okay, I replied, closing the album. Ready for dinner? That new place by the lake. Over wine and pasta, Ashton updated me on the latest office gossip. My phone buzzed occasionally. Work messages, friends checking in, life moving forward. Not one message from my family. They'd finally learned. "Package for you at reception," the maitre d' announced, bringing over a small box. Inside was a framed photo from Bridget. Me at Livia's graduation party, raising that final toast, but she'd added text over it. "Here's to karma, consequences, and choosing yourself." Perfect timing, I told Ashton. "This is going on my office wall." Speaking of timing, he reached into his jacket. "The board approved your proposal. You're officially running our new investment division." I took the contract, smiling at the 7-figure salary. Not bad for the family failure. "You were never a failure," he said seriously. "They just needed you to feel like one so they could keep using you." My phone lit up. Bridget again. Livia just posted about learning valuable life lessons about privilege and responsibility with a photo of her in her waitress uniform. I laughed, showing Ashton. "Now that's karma." "You could reach out," he suggested carefully. "If you wanted." "I don't," I said simply. "They're learning to stand on their own feet." Finally, the waiter brought dessert, chocolate soufflé with 2 spoons. Through the window, I could see the lights of Geneva reflecting on the lake, my new home sparkling with possibility. "You know what the best revenge is?" I asked Ashton. "What's that?" "Living well. Building something real. Succeeding on my own terms." He raised his wine glass. "To living well." My phone buzzed one last time. "Josh, sending a final update. Your parents asked me to forward their new address in case you ever want to contact them." "Should I?" I typed back, "No. Some chapters need to stay closed." The soufflé was perfect. The wine excellent. The company exactly what I wanted. No guilt, no obligation, no family drama draining my energy and bank account. Just me, my success, and the life I'd chosen. "Ready to go?" Ashton asked as we finished. I looked out at Geneva, at my future, at everything I'd built for myself. More than ready. We stepped out into the crisp Swiss night, my heels clicking on ancient cobblestones. Above us, stars sparkled in a clear sky. Ahead of us, the lake reflected 1,000 lights. Behind us, an ocean away, my family was finally learning to live in the world they'd created for themselves, and I was exactly where I needed to be. Not all endings need to be neat and tidy. Not all stories need reconciliation. Sometimes, the perfect ending is simply walking away and never looking back. I'd chosen myself finally, completely, irrevocably, and I'd never felt more free.